Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle, and today I'm going to take on an Avet, and it's one of the first editions of an Avet, and this one's been around a long time. This one is the Avet MXL 4.5 to 1, made in the U.S., aluminum framed, nice reel, but this one belongs to Joe. I met Joe the other day. Nice guy, and he does a lot of custom rod building and the like, and he's having some trouble with this one. Here's the trouble. If you go into free spool, the handle continues to turn, and when you go to full drag, if you can get it there, you lock up and you can't turn. So there's something going on in the inside of this one. We're going to take it apart. We're going to show you how to service one of these if you have it. It'll give you a little bit of an education or insight into the reel itself if you're just curious about it. I'm just kind of lining up my handle tool. I probably should have done that on the front end, but let's get started with this one. So I start by taking the exterior off first, and that's going to be the handle. When I'm doing this, you can notice a couple of things. One is I have a protective glove on my hand, and that's to keep grease and grime and junk off of it. And on the whole, if it gets dirty or if you get some stuff in there that you're not familiar with, it's always good to take precautions. So those two screws release the hold fast, and then we have a nut here. I believe that I got the right tool. Probably don't. It looks like an 11 millimeter. I have a 12. So let's go ahead and find that one. And we can pull that down. And then we can remove the handle. Now under the handle here, I believe is a little the washer. So there's a washer below. Sits in the groove of the handle. As such, there's a bigger washer on the other side of that. You just want to note the sequences of it. Now, if you had a reel that came to you in pieces and parts and you weren't doing this, you could go back and check for schematics. They are available. So just a word of help to you there. Next, I want to take off the free spool assembly. And take off the adjuster nut. Then you want to note how it comes off. You have a little plastic shim in there, and on the other side there's a three-way, and here's your triangle three-way here. That should slide off as well, I believe. Yep, that slides off. And one of the best things to do on something like that is just go put it right back in the case the way it came off. That way you know where that's been, and of course this one just fell out at the other side. So just keep those sequences in mind as you go ahead and do this. Alright, that should free up the case for removal then. We no longer have the handle, and all we have is the thread through on the spool shaft. So we can take the handle off. Now this is an older case. Most of the newer ones have a Torx kind of a screw. This one has Phillips head. It has a very broad Phillips head. Word of advice, you saw me with the smaller Phillips head. Go to the tool that matches up the best with the screw. If you go with an undersized tool, you risk stripping out the threads, and if you strip out the threads, the parts may be difficult to replace. You saw that I laid the three of these onto the desk, and the whole idea behind that is to make sure that they're all the same size. If they're not, you note what side the smaller or the longer screws came out of, and then they go into my parts tray as well. That should release the mechanism here, and here's what's going on. We got some kind of goop in there. It almost looks like silly putty or something. I'm not quite sure what that is. Okay, so let's I'm gonna guess that's what's bogging all of this down. It's just it doesn't appear to be any kind of grease that I'm familiar with, but boy, that is thick and rubbery, and I'm sure that's what's causing this to be a problem here. All right, here's your main gear assembly. Wow, this is something. It's like taffy. I have to be honest with you, I'm not sure what in the world that is, but I'm going to ask Joe if he knows what it is, but I would never recommend doing that. So it's kind of an interesting thing here, because folks always ask me, can I substitute some kind of grease? And generally the answer is you can, but I don't recommend it. And I don't recommend automotive products, and I certainly don't recommend whatever this goop is. I'm just shocked by this. It always just surprises me. I'm going to take the ferrule off, take the bearing off, and we just got to do some good old basic cleaning here. But there's no question, this is why that spool isn't releasing when you go into free spool mode. It's holding on like a spider's web. This is really interesting stuff. I don't even know if penetrating oil is going to cut that stuff. I don't know what it is. So I'm just going to kind of give that a little bath here and a little bath there. And might as well complete the process here and just get that case while we're at it. So, see, that hasn't, yeah, okay, so that's dissolving this, whatever that may be, which is good news. And that's why I wear this glove. I mean, people, they kid me from time to time about wearing a glove. Aren't you being over precautious or whatever? I have no idea what that junk is, and I certainly don't want to be carrying that around. And I typically, I'm not allergic to things, but I don't need to find out that I am. So this is a prime example of why we're going to go ahead and do that stuff. So whoever serviced this reel the last time thought this was a good idea, and quite honestly, it wasn't. All right, so we've taken the junk off. Thank goodness for penetrating oils. Seems like we're in pretty good shape. I'm just going to be extra cautious here, so I apologize if you're watching me do dirty dishes, but I just don't trust that stuff at all. Now we're going to check the teeth on the main gear. He didn't say anything about skipping, but I'm noticing that I still got a little bit of that junk in there, so I'm going to use a fabric brush just to pull that out of the channels of those teeth. And then we can go ahead and put these two things back. So we had a bearing, and put that on next. And then we have the little ferrule. It looks like a sealed bearing, but I'm going to go ahead and put the little bit of oil on there anyway. And then we can put the ferrule on. We got more taffy over here we got to go deal with. This is really crazy. Okay, I'm going to use my pick to get into some of these channels here. I'll go ahead and do some more of this. So this is an example of why you shouldn't use greases that are not formulated for the fishing reel specifically. Now, this might be a marine grease. Like I said, I'm kind of curious about what it is, but I do know one thing. It doesn't work well in fishing reels unless you want to kind of solder all your pieces together here. Alrighty, I think we got it all clear there now. Pretty much so. Take your time. There shouldn't be a rush when you go to do a reel, and even if it's not your reel, because if you do, you're going to skip things, and you're only going to come to regret it later. If it happens to be your reel, and you take a shortcut and you find out it jams up later, you only have yourself to blame, and it's going to take you twice as long to get it right. If you happen to be doing this as a hobby for friends or that, you're going to lose friends, but you're going to lose customers if you do substandard work. So take your time. There shouldn't be a rush in this. Okay, I'm going to get all that junk out of the channel here. This really is something. If anybody is watching and knows what that grease is, I'd love you to make a comment on there and tell me, because, as I mentioned, I am not familiar with that one. Almost look like a lithium grease kind of a thing, but I can't say for certain. Okay, so we've cleaned that down. That's going to save us a lot of trouble. I'm going to flush this bearing then. I'll come over to the other side here. So the Avets are known for their durability. We've got, you can see why, you got an aluminum case. Now, interestingly enough, with aluminum cases, so I was talking the other day about cleaning reels with purple power, and one of our viewers out there informed me that he's more of a chemist than I am. He said if you read the pieces, what this contains, basically it contains lye. So if you're using that, don't use it on aluminum, because the lye is going to pit the aluminum. It's not a compatible surface. So stay away from purple power. If you're using it on aluminum pieces and parts, it'll only cause you trouble. I haven't verified that, but I'll take our viewer's word on that, and I will tell you, be forewarned about that. Okay, so I'm just going for my reel oil. We're going to put more on there. Put a little bit of grease onto the shaft here. I'm going to use Penn Precision reel grease for this. Just throw a little bit on there. And grab that into the piece. We're going to put our main gear back in. Before I do that, I should have put the grease into the teeth. So let's go ahead and do that. Now I use a painter's brush here. For years I've been using a screwdriver. Just be aware, if you're using a brush like this, every now and then those fine hairs will fall off. And if they fall off, then you're going to have trouble. I'm replacing the grease on the small gear now, and we're just going to sit that in here. Okay, we're back to where we belong with that, and then I'm going to wipe the grease off of that pressure plate face. Now, it's my understanding on these, I don't have any reason to believe that this one is different. The newer ones are epoxied onto the spool, and I'm going to think that that's the case. What Avet recommends with the drags is to clean them. Clean them the same way that we were just cleaning the other parts. Use a hard bristle brush, like a toothbrush, to clear out the channels. Some soapy water at the most to kind of free that stuff up with that. Nothing more. Okay, we should be able to pull the shaft out now. There's a retention clip in here. You just have to work on that. Some of the newer ones will have screws in that holding the assemblies in. But you need to remove that in order to get to the bearing. And then once you do that, you can push your whole assembly through. Notice what's coming off of the top. You have a bearing, a little shim collar. I'm just going to lay this right out because we're going to go right back down with this again. A spring, the second bearing, the second bearing shield. Then we have the main part of the assembly. We have a long ferrule and another bearing. The rest of these are just shims that you don't need to do anything with. You want to make sure that your shaft is clean. We'll go ahead and use the Real X to oil that bearing again. You can brush a little bit of grease onto the shaft for the ferrule. Then we can reinsert. Up top then we have the first of the shields and the bearing. Oil that bearing. There we go. I had the little shield was proud. And you need to just work it so that it's square. Right now I'm not going on square. Don't force anything. There we go. And you'll know when you have it. Next up is the spring. We got another one of the shields. Last bearing. I'll oil that one as well as we put it on. Okay, now we've got and there was some tension in there. I got to be honest with you, there was some tension in there. So the tension is kind of telling me what we probably knew about this being released, but that, again, with that silly putty, it was getting very hard there. Cap goes over the assembly, four wings, and this is that ring clip that goes inside. So start it on the one side, hold it, because this thing will shoot. It's a pretty good tension for the spring. Make sure that it's clipped inside, so now your assembly is complete again. Just winding up the... I guess we could put a drop of oil into the click assembly mechanism. Give it a little bit of a drink there. Hold that tight then. Okay, we're seated there. Just gotta, some of this came a little bit loose here. We'll just get that back the way it belongs. Okay, and now we can put the main assembly back in. Three screws. This is a little slippery, so make sure that you're lined properly. Just get them started. Don't tighten them down. Make sure that you get each side proper. I notice on this case we got a little bit of the stuff that was inside outside here. So let's just do a little bit more cleaning here. Use that to clear our channel. Okay, now we've got the triangulated piece. Oops, wrong side. Triangulated piece. That rides there. Our handle rides next. Okay, so I generally like to start by putting this into the off position, tightening down, and ensuring that I have full range of motion. And you'll see your spool running in the off position. As you throw it, you'll see the gear turning, and I'll tell you you've had it set. And I'm a little bit tight here because I want more for the max drag. And then again, bring it back here. Problem solved. So that silly putty that was in there was the problem here. All right, we got a bearing here. I'm not sure if, I think I did, yeah. But let's go ahead and give it a drink anyway. I think we hit it from the other side. We had our big washer was up next. Then we had our handle. And we had our little washer. And we had our cap nut. And we have our retaining clip. And you have to play with that a little bit on the adjustment of the nut. We're close. There you go. And then 2 more little screws to put them back in. And this one's done, and it's going to go back to Joe, and Joe's going to be able to take this thing fishing along the northeast coast here and go back to catching a lot of fish. The drag is in good condition. The reel is nice and clean for the age. Just unfortunate that whoever serviced this reel the last time used something that really didn't belong there. So, okay, and this is a magnetic screwdriver, which is great for holding that little piece there. There we go. So we're in free spool and we're running like a dream. Those freshly oiled bearings are doing their job. Go to half cut. We've got our, and then if we throw it over to full power, there's nothing but good love in this reel. So that's it. That's one of the earlier Avets. It's the Avet MXL 4.5 to 1. It's in nice condition. Joe's going to be fishing with this one for a long time to come. Problem solved on the release. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you did, please subscribe. Please leave comments with any questions you may have. That's what keeps my YouTube channel going. It's subscriptions and comments. That helps me in my rankings. I would appreciate it if you let your other fishing buddies along the way know that this channel is out there. So this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Thank you for watching.